Welcome to a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Tommy Tran. Boy, the NFL has certainly been fun to watch this weekend. No doubt about it. College football remains the same, although there's been some changes with premier head coaches. We'll get into that later on in the show. But let's talk about the NFL with the Monday night doubleheader, the last true one that we'll have for the season. Now, there will be one in Week 18, but that includes a Saturday game. Taking a look at Week 7, some games that have been final. Boy, let's take a look at that Giants-Broncos game in the middle bottom there. Teams had lost 1,600 straight games, down 18 or more, final 6 minutes of the game. Denver won that game. And then we go to tonight, Bucs and Lions. 5-1 Bucs at 4-2 Lions. Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff are tied for the most passing touchdowns in the NFL since 2023 with 81 apiece. Joining me to get ready for not one but two Monday Night Football games is Douzable and Ran Carthon, guys. So let's first start with the quarterback matchup that has Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. From Mayfield specifically, he has this team and himself in some MVP conversations, Lige. What stands out to you about how Baker's getting it done?
The way he's been able to elevate the talent on the roster, even with the injuries. Tommy, going into last week's game versus San Fran, he won that game with receiver 5, 6, and 7, and got contributions from those guys. And then the competitive nature of Baker Mayfield. 3rd and 14, it kind of encapsulates who he is, right? He's able to make a couple defenders miss. And I think Todd Bowles talked about after the game, Tommy, he was like, you're going to get killed, get down, you're going to get, way to go, Baker Mayfield. Makes 4 or 5 guys miss and gets a first down, and then gets up, shows all that energy, and that ignites a sideline. So it's just been the way he's been able to elevate his team, no matter the circumstances, no matter who's been out there on the field with him.
Yeah, and like you said, Baker is the catalyst of all this. And when you talk about the MVP conversation, it stands for most valuable player. And for him to have to go out there week in and week out with all these players missing and not only lift his game, but lift the game around him of the other players, that shows you his competitive nature. But then this is something no one's talking about. He lost his offensive coordinator last year, who went to Jacksonville to become the head coach. Even though that he's with another first-year play caller, the offense hadn't changed much. They've only made small little tweaks that allow Baker to do what Baker does best. So this is his first time since he's been in Tampa that the offense has stayed the same in consecutive years. And so that's another reason why we're seeing him take his game to another level, because he's more comfortable and he understands conceptually what they're trying to do and how they're trying to attack people.
Which is interesting, because given all the success that they've had with Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield, you talk about Dave Canales and Liam Cohen, all the things that they've had to change. Baker's been the one constant out there. And, of course, he got rewarded with a deal to help do that. You saw the graphic there, 3rd shortest odds behind Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in the MVP conversation.
He should be number one on
You think he should be number one? So a bit of value for him.
Ridiculous that he's 3rd on that list.
Baker making his 41st start, by the way, with the Bucs tonight. They'll be shorthanded, especially on his side of the ball. We talk monitoring Mike Evans, of course, Emeka Egbuka, but already Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin are out. Ran, give me a sense of what this offense will look like tonight from a Tampa Bay perspective.
Well, Mike Evans is going to go. Mike Evans is going to go, and you can expect Emeka Egbuka to go tonight as well, which I think changes things for this team. And Lige hit it. He ended the game last week with receivers 5, 6, and 7, and so now you get potentially 2 of your top 3. I'm not going to sign a number to them, but you get 2 of your top 3 back. And you have the confidence in these younger guys to be able to step in and play a bigger role. So that's going to really help Baker out a lot going into this Monday night game.
I think the biggest concern or question is not about the Tampa Bay offense, but the secondary for the Detroit Lions. And I know we'll get there. But to me, I think we'll see more of what we've seen, right? Rashee Wright has done a really good job at running back with Bucky Irving being out. Also a contract year for him, Tommy. So he's playing with a lot of motivation in that backfield. Rand talked about it, right? If you're able to get Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka, and even if they're just like 70 or 80%, that helps with the explosion on the offense, because now you're not really depending on Tez Johnson to take 30 or 40 snaps. You're not depending on Cameron Johnson to take 30 or 40 snaps. So when they come into the game, they'll be fresh, and now Baker has the confidence because of what they did last week. I can depend on some of these younger guys. Obviously, Sterling Shepard goes back to him all the way to their Oklahoma days, so he's always going to have faith in him. But if you get 2 of your better players on the 2 of your better playmakers on the outside to come back, it opens up the offense more.
Which they've been in a few shootouts this year, Tampa Bay. And Baker's been slinging it around, whatever Johnson's out there. Evans, Godwin, Ibuka. He's been certainly stepping up here in his rookie season. You brought up the secondary for Detroit. Give me a sense of all the omissions that we'll have. Terry and Arnold's going to be out. Kirby Joseph, Avante Madden here. So that Detroit secondary looking pretty thin. And
Brian Branch is suspended this game. So your two starting safeties, I remember Thomas Harper comes into that game late, hadn't really played much. He had a big PBU versus the Kansas City Chiefs. But who's going to start opposite of him? Because we don't know. Because Brian Branch finished that game last week, and he won't be playing this game. And when you're looking at corner, like Arthur Marlette, I believe will start outside with Rock Ya-Sin, and then Amik Robinson will play on the outside and play in the slot. But what can't help this, and you see it right there, that D tackle, that's questionable. Aleem McNeil hasn't played the entire year. You know what helps? Corners, pass rush, Tommy, and that's what they've missed from an interior perspective, getting that interior pass rush. Aleem McNeil was playing one of the better D tackles in football before he went down with that injury. That'll be a big boost. But Rand, you can speak to this. It's tough when you're putting in new pieces in that secondary. Who's going to be the communicator? That's what plagued them last year during that stretch run at the end of the playoffs, and ultimately was a nail in the coffin for them because they had so many injuries in that secondary last year.
And I'm so glad you brought up the communication piece on the back end, specifically at safety. Yeah. They're going into this game depleted from their week one starting secondary.
Yeah.
That whole group is out because we didn't mention DJ Reed is on IR.
Yeah, for sure.
Their big free agent acquisition. And so now you're going into a game against a Baker Mayfield-led offense, and you're getting Mike Evans back, and you're getting Emeka Ibuka back, and you have two guys on the back end that have never had to communicate and make those calls in the secondary. That can be a problem, as specifically with this type of offense that does a lot of motions and shifts and window dressing, and now you have these moving pieces where the coverages are rotating and rolling, and you don't have guys that are used to communicate.
It'll be interesting. My guy, Calvin Shepard, first-time defensive play caller, what will he do? What do these guys feel comfortable playing, right? They are a man-based team, but when you're manning up a Mike Evans or a Emeka Ibuka, it could be a long day if you don't get the subsequent pass rush to affect a Baker Mayfield. So that'll be the thing that I'm watching this game. Calvin Shepard, how does he come out game plan-wise, knowing that they've had to move so many pieces in that back end?
Branch suspended after that post-game incident with Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City against the Chiefs. Thankfully, Detroit's got an offense in case they need to score a lot of points in this game, Rand. But when I look at this offense, they've got all the pieces. Jared Goff, we talked about. The running game with Montgomery and Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Some people are wondering if Jameson Williams, that third-year leap, hasn't really taken yet, or Sam Laporta hasn't been used as an elite tight end should. When you take a look at the Detroit offense, how do they bounce back? Which they have behind losses. They've done very well this year.
Well, here's what I got to say about the Detroit offense. They have an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
And it's only one football. So it's hard to get everybody their required touches because you have so many different people to feed. And regardless of what we feel about these receivers, the explosive nature that these guys can play, everything in this offense is still centered around the two guys in the backfield.
Correct.
And you have to get them going. David Montgomery, if you talk about a load, but he can also catch the ball out of the backfield. And we know Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the explosive playmakers in the league. And so you have to give those guys the touches because Jared Goff is still one of the better play-action passing guys. And then now you can hit Jameson Williams on those vertical routes. You can hit Amon-Ra St. Brown in those situations that allow him to catch and run. And then the same thing with Laporta. It's just only one football that you can distribute around, especially when you're only playing 65 to 75 plays a game. It's only so many touches you can get them.
That was a crazy graphic. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they're plus 55 point differential at home. It's nothing like some home cooking with Jared Goff at quarterback. He loves being in Detroit, and you see it right there. Look at that. Plus 31 versus Chicago, plus 24 versus Cleveland. Plus 55 at home in 2 games. And they're back at home this week. You talked about it, Rand. It all starts with the run game, and they were not able to get that run game going consistently versus the Kansas City Chiefs. It sets up so much of what they want to do with Amon-Ra St. Brown. There's times where Johnny Morton will insert him into the line and then into a route. You can't do that if you're not able to run the football. So I know there will be an emphasis. And it's hard to run against the Tampa Bay Bucs because they got Vita Vea in the middle of that defense, and he's hard to move. But they have to establish the run and stay ahead of the change. You can't have Jared Goff back there sitting down in 3rd and long, right? Because that's when Todd Bowles like to send those exotic blitzes, and there will be guys coming from different angles. You got to be up on your protection game if you do that. But it all starts with the run game. I mean, you brought up Jameson Williams, and it's interesting, right? Because last year, people thought Sam Laporta kind of took a step back, and Jameson Williams took a step forward. Well, in the beginning of the year, Sam Laporta was really good, and Jameson hasn't been as well. And it's to Rand's point, there's one football. You got 6 or 7 playmakers that are really good with the ball in their hands. One game is going to be your time, another game is not going to be your time, and he just has to stay with it, continue to be in the offense. How can you affect the game when the ball's not in your hand?
Well,
That's
here's the other thing they have in their favor when it comes to Jameson Williams. And Brad Holmes and his crew were smartly. They paid him already.
They just paid him, yeah.
So he has less worry. He's not going to be pressing as much to make those stats to get paid because he's already been paid. Now it becomes about the team.
That's a good point. Well, we saw that graphic too, 11-0 following losses for Detroit. They haven't lost back-to-back games in 50 contests. So it'll be interesting to see where you guys land in tonight's game. Ran, I'm going to give you first word. Who wins tonight and why?
So and I don't even know if this will be considered an upset, but I'm going with Tampa Bay in this game, just because I think them getting their guys back, the level in which Baker Mayfield is playing, and this just depleted secondary.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to scheme up some things schematically to kind of keep this defensive line intact and be able to get those matches up against that secondary. So I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Tommy, I'm not going to lie, man. There's a lot of stats that show you should be high on Detroit. We saw it after a loss, whether they 11-0 straight up and against the spread. I just think too many injuries in the secondary. I thought 6.5 was a disrespectful line for the way the Tampa Bay Bucks are playing. Yes, I know Detroit loves that home cooking, but nobody has more underdog wins than Baker Mayfield since 2023. He leads the NFL with 12. So when they're not favored in games, he plays his best. I like Tampa to cover this. Give me the points with the Bucks plus 6.5.
Yeah, it was just 5.5 a few hours ago. Now 6.5, but it'll be a clean sweep. I'm with you guys. I don't think Tampa Bay will be scared. Remember that playoff game a couple of seasons ago? They played well, could have won that game, and so they will not be feared. We also talked about Baker Mayfield early in the year, the prime time, Monday night things off his back. I will say one more thing, too, if you're thinking about props. Cade Otton might have a big game today. Tristan Wirfs has come back. It's freed up Cade Otton, so either 3.5 receptions or maybe 36.5 receiving yards.
I like that one.
You can see Cade Otton maybe throw a little sprinkle in that one. All right, guys, good first segment. Good news is we've got another game to talk about, but boy, Sundays have been fun with this crew. Ran and the whole gang. Recap Sundays at 8:20 to about 10 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS Sports HQ.